that judges want to try and stop us from looking for corruption, especially when we found hundreds of millions of dollars worth, much more than that, in just a short period of time. And we want to weed out the corruption. And it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that. Well, so maybe we have to look at the judges, because that's a very serious, I think it's a very serious violation. I'll ask Elon Musk to say a few words, and we'll take some questions.
At a high level, if you say, what is the goal of Doge, and I think a significant part of the presidency is to restore democracy. This may seem like, well, are we in a democracy? Well, if you don't have a feedback loop, FX, we would have to, if you sorry. So, tell you, gravitas can be difficult sometimes. If there's not a good feedback loop from the people to the government, and if you have rule of the bureaucrat, if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have? If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy, we live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that we close that feedback loop, we fix that feedback loop, and that the public's elected representatives, the president, the House, and the Senate, decide what happens, as opposed to a large unelected bureaucracy. This is not to say that there are good people who are in the federal bureaucracy, but you can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy. You have to have one that's responsive to the people. That's the whole point of a democracy. And if you looked at this, if you asked looked at the founders today and said, what do you think of the way things have turned out? Well, we have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is not something that people want, and it does not match the will of the people. So it's just something we've got to fix. And then we've also got to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit, and if we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt. I mean, it's really astounding that the interest payments alone on the national debt exceed the Defense Department budget, which is shocking, because we spend a lot of money on defense.
To fact check it a little bit, one, irony died while he was talking. The only unelected party in any of this is Elon Musk. Andrew Nassios, who was the administrator of USAID, a lifelong Republican and self-described hardline conservative, said it took 1 month to turn the mission of USAID in the direction of a hard-right conservative agenda from the Clinton years. So the idea that the bureaucracy, as Elon Musk is describing, isn't responsive to the policymaker is destroyed by the fact pattern as testified to by Democratic and Republican cabinet officials. But there you have it. The co-president speaking much longer and in far greater detail than the president, drawing into serious question, who's in charge?
Well, let's say it ain't we the people, because I think what they just forgotten, that long litany of misinformation and disinformation, which is just my real nice way of saying lies.
To fully grasp Nicolle Wallace's critique, it's important to first understand the context in which it was delivered. Elon Musk, once seen as a politically neutral tech visionary, has increasingly aligned himself with conservative ideologies and figures in recent years. This shift became particularly evident during his acquisition of Twitter in 2022. Musk's stated goal was to transform the platform into a bastion of free speech. But critics argue that his actions have instead amplified divisive rhetoric and misinformation. Musk's political leanings came into sharper focus during the 2024 presidential election cycle. He openly endorsed Republican candidates, hosted fundraisers, and even floated the idea of running for office himself. His influence extended beyond mere endorsements, as he leveraged his control of Twitter to shape political narratives and suppress dissenting voices. This unprecedented level of involvement from a tech billionaire raised alarm bells for many, including Nicolle Wallace. Wallace's segment begins with a pointed observation. Elon Musk's rhetoric often contradicts his actions. She highlights a specific instance where Musk, during a public appearance, claimed to champion free speech while simultaneously silencing critics on his own platform. "Irony died while he was talking," Wallace quipped, a line that quickly went viral and became the title of her segment. Wallace argues that Musk's actions represent a dangerous blurring of the lines between technology, media, and politics. By wielding his influence to shape public opinion and sway elections, Musk is effectively bypassing traditional democratic processes and consolidating power in the hands of a single individual. Wallace warns that this trend could have far-reaching consequences for the integrity of American democracy. One of the key themes in Wallace's analysis is the growing intersection of technology and politics. She notes that Musk's takeover of Twitter is just one example of how tech billionaires are increasingly using their platforms to influence political outcomes. This trend, she argues, undermines the principles of democracy by allowing unelected individuals to exert disproportionate control over public discourse. Wallace also draws attention to the potential for abuse in this new paradigm. With algorithms designed to maximize engagement, platforms like Twitter can amplify polarizing content and create echo chambers that reinforce existing biases. When these platforms are controlled by individuals with clear political agendas, the risk of manipulation becomes even greater. A central theme in Musk's defense of his actions is the concept of free speech. He has repeatedly claimed that his goal is to create a platform where all voices can be heard, free from censorship. However, Wallace challenges this narrative, pointing out that Musk's definition of free speech appears to be highly selective. She cites several examples where Musk has used his power to silence critics, ban journalists, and promote content that aligns with his own views. This isn't about free speech, Wallace argues. It's about control. It's about shaping the narrative to serve his interests and those of his allies. Perhaps the most compelling part of Wallace's segment is her discussion of the broader implications for democracy. She warns that the concentration of power in the hands of a few tech billionaires poses a serious threat to the democratic process. By controlling the flow of information, these individuals can manipulate public opinion, suppress dissent, and undermine the legitimacy of elections. Wallace also raises concerns about the potential for foreign interference. With platforms like Twitter playing such a central role in political discourse, the risk of foreign actors exploiting these platforms to spread disinformation and sow division is greater than ever. As with any discussion involving Elon Musk, the response to Wallace's segment has been deeply polarized. Supporters of Musk argue that he is a champion of free speech and a much-needed disruptor in the tech industry. They see his involvement in politics as a positive development, one that challenges the status quo and gives a voice to those who have been marginalized by traditional media. Critics, on the other hand, echo Wallace's concerns about the concentration of power and the potential for abuse. They argue that Musk's actions represent a dangerous precedent, one that could pave the way for other tech billionaires to exert similar levels of influence over the political process. Nicolle Wallace's commentary raises important questions about the future of democracy in the age of technology. As tech billionaires like Elon Musk continue to expand their influence, it's crucial to consider the implications for the democratic process. How do we ensure that the flow of information remains free and fair? How do we prevent the concentration of power in the hands of a few individuals? And how do we strike a balance between free speech and the need to combat misinformation? These are complex questions with no easy answers, but they are questions that we must grapple with as a society. Wallace's segment serves as a timely reminder of the stakes involved and the need for vigilance in protecting the principles of democracy. In her closing remarks, Nicolle Wallace issues a call to action. She urges viewers to remain informed, to question the narratives they encounter on social media, and to hold those in power accountable. The future of democracy depends on it, she says. As we navigate this new era of technology and politics, Wallace's words serve as a powerful reminder of the importance of critical thinking and civic engagement. The challenges we face are significant, but by staying informed and engaged, we can work towards a future that upholds the principles of democracy and ensures that the voices of all citizens are heard.